Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. It's June 16th. It's Monday. It is day 34, if we're just counting day by day, of the Karen Read retrial. We have heard that the lawyers have headed back to court. Let me make sure we are all clear. It is my guess that they are just dismissing the jurors for the day, that they are just going to say goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow. That is my guess. But if the lawyers bring anything up, we want to hear it together, don't we? And all of you seem very stressed today, so do not worry. We will answer some questions. We'll see them get dismissed. They're reconvening in just a moment. So we are going to roll the intro. We're going to put up the fan. We're going to wait and see. I suspect they are just getting dismissed for the day, but we do not know. So we're going to check. Also, like 100 plus, that's not the button I was looking for, 100 plus thousand of you went sprinting to the app, and it seemed that we crashed a server somewhere. So yay us. Today's been a whole day. A road crew cut our internet line to like my entire area. So it's been a gem of a day. Happy Monday, everybody. How you doing? How you doing? Right, it's a Monday. The jury's deliberating. They're coming back into court. We're going to roll the intro. We're going to put up the fan, and then we'll just chat. Because what a Monday it's been. But law nerds, we break stuff. So yay for us. So if your app is not working, it's not you. It's not you. It's them. And any of you that were in the members only live know how spicy Emily is when we're in the middle of trial and things don't work right, because I have all of the tech, why isn't it working the way I want it to be, rage. But it's going to be fine. Let's roll the intro. We want to go to court, don't we? Yeah, let's go to court. Hey there, I'm lawyer and legal analyst Emily D. Baker, and this is your go-to destination for live court coverage. I break down the law, the strategy, and the evidence in real time, so you know what's happening. No law degree required. So join the law nerds in the chat. They're here for the facts, not and let's get to court. Like, I literally can't. It's a Monday. It is what it is. We're waiting for court to reconvene. Let's talk about what has happened today. First of all, everyone take a collective breath. Breathe, everybody. Breathe. Breathe. I am pretty sure they are just dismissing the jury for the day. If there is a question, we will hear it. If the lawyers have anything to talk about, we will hear it. Set your expectations to that the jury is just going to go home for the day. It is that time of day. It is just going to be a dismissal for the day. If something else happens, then we're going to watch it together. But I assume we are just sending the jury home. That is exactly the time of day it is. That is my expectation. And then we will talk about the rest of the day. But we might learn from how the court dismisses the jurors more information. The court is standing. I wouldn't be surprised if the jury just gets dismissed. You guys should be able to hear court nice and loud.
Back in session, you may be seated.
All right, jurors, we appreciate how hard you've worked today. It's been a long day. I'm going to send you home. So I do have to give you those cautions. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. Be careful with your social media use. And I think what's a good idea to do is when you leave here, just leave the case here. Literally, figuratively, just clear your heads. Beautiful day. Get some fresh air. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay?
Get some fresh air. I feel like I'm being told. I feel like I'm being told to touch grass. Get outside. Get some fresh air. Don't worry, law nerds. If the lawyers come back on the record, we're going to stay here for a minute just to see. The lawyers may just go home for the day. They might want to put something in the record after the jury is gone. So we're just going to wait and we will see. But it does not surprise me the jury's gone. Remember, the jury instruction that they get is, I'm not gonna tell you how to deliberate.
So we'll see everybody tomorrow morning, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Remember, the last jury instruction that the jurors get from the court is, I'm not going to tell you how to deliberate, but review all the evidence before you take a poll. Reviewing all the evidence is going to take time. The defense told them, go read all of Proctor's messages. They've been there for 8 weeks. So the jury has a lot to talk about. They told them to look at all the evidence before they took a straw poll vote, and court is done for the day. Like it's done. The feed is done. In like 30 seconds, the feed was like done. The last time the jury deliberated, it took 5 days, and we heard nothing from them for like 2+ days. So I'm not surprised they don't have a question. I'm not surprised that the jury is taking their time. I'm not surprised with the instruction that they're given that we do not have a verdict today. What is the most inconvenient option for all of us? Well, Wednesday. Wednesday is the most inconvenient option for all of us. So I am sure we will get a verdict on Wednesday. Would it be great to have a verdict tomorrow? Yes. Is the least convenient option Wednesday? Yes. It's also a holiday on Thursday, so there will be no court. And then if they need to resume Friday, they will resume Friday. So if you are feeling all of the things today, don't worry, you're not alone. The app is feeling it. Apparently the internet in my area is feeling it. Everybody's feeling it. It's Monday. Waiting for a verdict is stressful. If you are feeling stressed, do not worry. It's okay. We're going to answer some questions. There will be court on Friday. Sue O'Connell confirmed it in court today that there will be court on Friday if they are still deliberating. So if they do not have a verdict, they will deliberate Friday. That is what we have been told. So that is what I'm working with. That is what I'm working with. So I am working on what we are getting from those in the court. For all of you who are like, the app crashed, look, yes, it did. Yes, it did. We break things as law nerds, which is part of why I wanted to go live today. A, I thought everybody would be anxious. And B, I wanted to make sure that all of our shit was working because everything has been frustrating this week. And it wasn't. I rather break it today than tomorrow. We're just going to break all the things today. It's not just you. We're going to break all the things today. Why is Wednesday inconvenient? Because I am traveling and I have a talk that I am doing at YouTube headquarters. So yay for me, but we're going to figure it out. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We're going to figure it out. And if I need to walk out, they have set up an area for me to stream. If I need to walk out and stream, I'll walk out and stream. I said, I will do this thing if you are aware that I might need to walk out and stream. And they said, that's totally fine for us. And I said, great. So just so we're all aware, if that needs to happen, it needs to happen. We're going to figure it out. I was streaming last year on the road. We were streaming this year on the road, but the jury is done. Miguelina, let's put up a pinned message that the jury was sent home for the day. Let's talk about what went on today, shall we? Let's just talk about what went on today. The jury came in, they got sent to deliberate. Then they had lunch. Then they resumed deliberation. They don't deliberate during lunch. Is that weird to me? It's totally weird to me. They bring them lunch to the courthouse. Why don't they just let them eat and talk? I mean, it's not like that's not what all of us do. Just let the jury eat and talk. I don't know why they take a break. I understand why they don't take a verdict over the lunch break. The court staff is gone. They need a break. But just, it seems that they break deliberations after lunch, and I don't know why. Let them sit and eat. You bring them the food. Just let them sit and eat. But whatever. And the defense made their formal motion for a change in the verdict slip. We can talk about that. I know y'all want to, so we will talk about the verdict slip. It is a good point that you don't want to get food on the evidence. That's a fair point, but they bring in the food. They bring in the food. Just let them talk. But they take a break, which is fine. And it might be good for some jurors to have a minute and just have a moment knowing that they don't have to talk about the case during lunch? Sure. The jurors do not seem like they are antsy. Kelsey said, what do judges do while waiting for a verdict? Normally they're in chambers working on their other cases. Sometimes they will take phone conferences waiting for their other cases. Sometimes they will call other cases in their courtroom. It just depends. Oftentimes the courtroom will keep running. In longer cases like this, the court doesn't seem to have other matters coming in for the day. But in busier courtrooms, you will have other cases getting called. And then all the attorneys will get told, hold on, the jury has a question. Y'all need to wait. We need the other lawyers in here. But that's not like a 10-minute window. That's like, I need the lawyers waiting in the hallway in case this jury needs something. So it really depends on the courtroom and the staff, but working on other cases is generally what they do. They're not done. Just Call Me Hen said, do they get cigarette breaks? It depends on the jury. If the jury needs breaks, they can take them. They get to determine that on their own. The only question for this courthouse would be, where can they go? Carrie said, does the jury get paid? I don't know how much they get paid in Massachusetts. They normally get a daily rate that is not a lot, and some jurors will still get paid by their jobs. There are different rules in different jurisdictions about the size of the employer and whether or not they have to pay you or not for jury duty. That, of course, doesn't help for people who are self-employed and what have you. So it does not help if you are a hairdresser and you make money by seeing people like service providers. It really doesn't help with that, but it depends on the daily rate. So the daily rates tend to be fairly low. So because the jury is gone for the day, let's take a look at what the defense was asking for. The court already denied it. We're going to take a look at what the court said when the court denied it. Am I shocked by that? No. The court says that the jury forms and the verdict forms are the verdict forms that they use regularly in Massachusetts. I understand why attorneys from different jurisdictions, including California, are like, yo, this is a weird verdict form. Can we do something else, please? Because it is a different way to do it. I have seen verdict forms with the lesser includeds have options for both. That is not what this verdict form looks like. The defense made their formal written motion about it. The court denied that motion in writing on the motion today. We're going to take a look at what the court said real quick. So I'm just going to pull that up. I don't have it. I don't think I grabbed it as did I grab it as a PDF earlier today? I was trying to get ready before the internet crashed and everything went like sideways. I think I pulled it up. Give me 1 second. Let me grab that from my drive real quick. But I think when the defense is asking for it, this is my preference. Do I understand the court's ruling? Yes. Am I saying that the court is wrong? They're the court. Am I saying that that's something that is appealable? The Court of Appeals is going to be like, this is how we do it. The Court of Appeals is going to go full Montel Jordan and say, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Stop. I understand defaulting to what the defense asked for, because then they can't appeal on it, really. They can say, but the jury verdict form was confusing, and the court would say, okay. The Court of Appeal would say, yeah, boo. That's the verdict form you wanted. We gave you what you wanted. So no, you can't appeal on that. Also, you can raise it on appeal if an appeal is necessary. And the Court of Appeals is going to say, this is the standard verdict form for Massachusetts. This is what we use. So, too bad. That's what we use. And that is not unusual of the Court of Appeals. Courts don't want to do anything weird. I think if you're going to do something weird, the weird thing or the different thing or the out of the norm thing or the thing you don't always do, being the thing the defense has asked for is not going to be the end of the world. However, courts get into power struggles, and, because I said so is what a lot of courts tend to do. A lot of courts will just say, no, that's how we do it. And because I said so, that is how we're doing it. Let me grab the one with the court's ruling on it. Oh, did I not put it in here? I might not have. Oh, I was trying to put it in here when my entire internet went out, so it didn't fully upload. Well, that's That's super spicy and not helpful at all. But now we have it. So I'm going to grab that. We're going to take a look at it real quick. I'm going to answer some questions, and then we're going to go get all our stuff done so we can reconvene and do this tomorrow. I know you guys are stressed. I understand. I get it. Waiting for verdicts is hard. And especially if it's not something you're used to. Even when it's part of your profession, it still is hard to wait for verdicts. It's awkward. And there's not much else you can do because you're just, well, waiting. I will say that I do have a new podcast out today. You guys can go watch that. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. The members know how long that podcast is because I think we were chatting for like 3 hours while we were doing it. So I'm not reading anything into this. It is too early in an 8-week trial. It is way too early to read anything into the jury taking today. Way too early. It is way too early to read anything into it. Fast verdicts with long trials are not the norm. It is very normal, especially with that really heavy-handed instruction that says, we're not going to tell you what to do, but review all the evidence first. It's going to take them a day to review the evidence. It's going to take them a day to review it, if not more. Alexis said, question, when can we panic? There is no need to panic. There will be a resolution. We just have to wait. In the words of Tom Petty, the waiting is the hardest part. I get that waiting is hard. We will know. There will be an answer at some point. You do not need to panic. We will get an answer. When we get the answer is unknown. But we have a whole evening to go figure out why the app crashed today. So do not worry. There is no need to panic. This is not the thing to panic over. It is going to have an answer. We will know what happens. I imagine we're going to have an answer this week. Y'all, we live in a world where we get emotionally manipulated every time we open every single app with every single thing and every single headline. We do not need to panic over this. There will be an answer. It is stressful. Waiting is hard. Not knowing things is hard. Not knowing things is uncomfortable. There will be an answer in this case. Do not stress yourself out about it. There will be an answer. It's okay to feel stressed and anxious and want to close the chapter on this. But we have not gotten into, this jury's taken a little too long. We're definitely not there yet. We're definitely not there yet. So we're not close to, this jury's taken a little too long. We're not there. Give them time. I also understand that the trust has been breached. All y'all are like, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust them to do the right thing. I don't trust them to, I do not trust. I get it. I get the trust issues. I do. But we will have an answer. We will have an answer together. It is going to be fine. You have other things you need to do. It is early on. It's going to be known. When it will be known, I don't know. But it will be known. We will know the things. It's okay. All right. Let's take a look at what the court said. This is blurry, so it's not you. You're not blurry. It is this upload. I'm grabbing this from Ted Daniel over on Twitter. It is what it is. It's not your eyes. I question myself too. I look at this and I'm like, do I need to change my prescription? No, it's not you. It's the document. The document itself is blurry. It is not, you are not blurry. This is blurry. This is the defense motion to amend the verdict slip. We have looked at this a little bit. The defense's argument is the present verdict slip is unclear and otherwise confusing. I think this one is more clear than the last one, honestly, because it goes through and says not guilty on this or lesser included. I think it's fine. I don't think it's fine. I think it's more clear than last time. Let me be clear on that. I don't think it's fine. I think it's more clear than last time. So the defense argues respectfully, the present verdict slip is unclear and otherwise confusing. This lack of clarity and resultant risk of confusion and error can easily be minimized by tailoring and clarifying the verdict slip to better aid the jury in memorializing its verdict. Indeed, there is no compelling reason not to do so. Specifically, Ms. Reed proposes that the court use the verdict slip attached as Exhibit A, which gave clearer options for guilty, not guilty, which presents formatting changes, not substantive changes to the court verdict slip. That the jury has started deliberating does not preclude amendment, and then they cite a case law for that. Indeed, the court amended the verdict slip in Ms. Reed's first trial while the jury was deliberating. That can 100% happen. The court made a note today, June 16th, on the Monday. After review, the motion is denied. Make your shocked Pikachu faces. The verdict slip is consistent with Massachusetts law and is viewed in conjunction with the jury instructions. A copy of the jury instructions was sent to the jury with the verdict slip on Friday. Judge, date. So, the jury instructions this time I thought were much more clear. And they said you must make a decision on each charge and then go down the line. I think it was more clear than it was in the first trial. The jury can take a look at the instructions while they have the verdict slip. And the court has said that is sufficient. We find that that is sufficient, and that is it. Avalon said it feels very unofficial to handwrite an order. It is very common. It's essentially a slip order. The federal courts do it all the time. They're generally typewritten, but it happens all the time, these type of slip orders. So it is incredibly common. So this is common. This is not unusual. This is not weird. This is not something that is just done by this judge. This is not unusual. So not unusual. The motion goes on to say a verdict slip is a tool designed to aid the jury, a recognized means of reducing errors in the rendering and announcing of verdicts. It is well established that verdict slips are of no binding legal significance. The verdict, as a matter of law, requires public announcement in open court. That's why they read the verdict slips in court. Because verdict slips are tools to aid the jury, their primary goal, in addition to ensuring a defendant's rights, should be clarity for the jury in both understanding its charge and reporting its verdict. I said reporting weird. It is what it is. Amy said the app sent me 3 times. The app has sent itself today. So yes, but at least today is our day to iron out any issues with the app. I think that some of the issues with Google services last week have continued to drip down to other areas, but do not worry. The current jury verdict slip has the real potential to confuse the jury and cause concerns, particularly with respect to count 2, manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence of liquor. The other verdict slips are clear as day. It's only count 2 that is confusing, and it's lesser included charges. Some of you are going to be like, it says lesser Lesser here, and on the verdict slip it says lesser Lessor. Why do they do that? I do not know. I think one of them is probably wrong, but they spell it differently in this motion versus in the verdict slip. The way that they do that is wild. So why? I don't know. I don't know who's right and who's wrong on the spelling of that. We're using them synonymously to mean the included charges, the necessarily included charges. They go on to say the form does not explain the process the jury should follow while completing it. The form does not. I will argue that the jury instructions do this time actually tell the jury how to do it. And that is fair. They go on to say, although the court instructed the jury that the form should be completed from the top down, the form itself does not provide instructions to stop after the jury has selected a given box. True, it's in the verdict forms. Moreover, the form presents the jury with only a single not guilty option applicable to count 2 in its entirety, juxtaposed with the 4 guilty options. The form actually has more options than the defense has presented here, but it is what it is. There's actually more options than this. This imbalanced, they say, presentation visually favors the guilty options and risks creating bias towards a guilty verdict in degradation of Ms. Reed's rights, in addition to creating a risk of confusion and errors. So they are noting this also for appeal. They are they're preserving all of their arguments that they may want to make if an appeal is needed. So that's what they're doing. I left my other waters somewhere. I was just like, oh, it's the end of the day. Let's just go live. Did I go grab anything? No. Did I throw on my hat? Yes. Do only part of you know that this is in the App Store today? Probably. Did I throw it on anyway? Yes, because we restocked the hats. We'll talk about that in a minute. It goes on to say, additionally, the proposed verdict slip makes clear the jury's choice between guilty and not guilty for each separate charge instead of presenting only a single not guilty option encompassing each and every charge in count 2. Let's go look at the verdict slip that they have, because I think that that's the most helpful. I don't think it's helpful looking at the verdict slip that they don't have, because the court denied this and said, no, we're doing it the way that we always do it. This is the verdict slip that we use. This is the verdict slip we're going to keep using. And that is all. So let's go to the verdict slips that are being used in this trial. We have also talked at length about the verdict slips used in the previous trial. Let me just open this real quick and switch tabs. I'm looking at my more distant monitor, the whole thing. So verdict slip as to count 1 is the murder in the second degree, not guilty, guilty of the offense as charged. I think that's pretty clear. I think it's a pretty what do you pick? Which one? Just pick one. But count 2 has those included crimes, and that can get confusing. I agree that it can get confusing. Oh, they spelled it lesser with an E this one too. Last trial it was with an O. Perfect. I can go now update all the things the way I prefer to spell them, because I was taking it off the verdict sheet last time and it was spelled with an O. So yay for fixing the typo of how lessor was spelled to lesser, not lessor. I'm thrilled. Yay. All right. Let's continue. This is for the verdict slip for count 2. And it says at the top, offense 2. It gives the title of the charge, not guilty of the offense charged or any lesser included offense. I understand that may be confusing, but I think that is much more clear than last time. It is definitely not as ambiguous as it was in the first trial. I think this is helpful. Jan said, just came in. Is there court on Friday? Yes. If needed. If needed. So not guilty of the offense charged or any of the lesser included offenses, guilty of the offense charged, and that is the manslaughter while operating, and then A or B or both. Guilty of the lesser included involuntary manslaughter by itself. Guilty of the lesser included motor vehicle homicide, and then A and B or both. And guilty of the lesser included offense operating under the influence of liquor, A or B or both. If they cannot agree on all of them, the issue is that they are probably going to have to ask the court, because there is nowhere for them to say, not guilty on 1, not guilty on 3, not guilty on 4, but we can't agree on 5. There isn't anywhere for them to indicate that, and they would probably need to ask the court that question. And then the defense will say, see, that's what we said. There's nowhere for them to say, see, we don't know. So that is a problem. Tony said, wouldn't double jeopardy apply to another hung jury? No, Double jeopardy does not apply to hung juries. In theory, since we will get asked a lot, in theory, juries can hang and be retried 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. It becomes a matter of court's discretion and prosecutorial discretion, but they're theoretically, and I don't even like talking about it because I hate putting it out there, theoretically, were any case to hang after a retrial, it can be retried again, a 3rd time or more. It becomes an issue for the court and for prosecutorial discretion, how that works. And yes, there can be a split verdict here where they find a verdict on count 1, they can find a verdict on count 3. And if they do not find a verdict on parts of this count, I think that's where the jury would need to ask the court, hey, we're very clear not guilty on 2, 3, 4. If they were just hung on, say they just hung on 5, right? The lesser included down here. But if they NG'd on everything else, then you can't retry her on anything else. So they could hang on 1 or 2 of the lessers and then everything else is gone. And that becomes a very interesting issue if they only hang on some of the lessers because the prosecution never charged her with the lesser includeds. So then you get a very interesting legal question, and this gets very deeply nerdy. Then it gets to a very interesting legal question about, well, they didn't charge her. They acquitted her of charged. Can they retry her on the lesser included? And I would need to look at a bunch of case law on that because I would have questions. D said, EDB, why does the verdict slip say 12 members when there are 18 jurors? There are 12 deliberating jurors. The other jurors are alternates, which means the other jurors got to go to court all day and sit there and wait in case they were needed. Speaking of which, my kiddo does drum corps international this summer. He's doing DCI. They ran out of alternates due to injuries. And I was like, buddy, what's going on? He's like, this friend broke their hand and we are out of alternates. I was like, oh boy, doesn't tour start next week? Yikes. That's a tough one. That's not ideal. We don't love that for anybody, but you can run out of alternates. You can need alternates while deliberations are happening. If a juror, and this is an if, hear me, if a juror has a life issue, a pre-scheduled vacation, they walk off a curb and twist an ankle and can't come into court, alternates have to come in, and then those alternates, all the deliberations start fresh again. It can happen that alternates need to come in during deliberations. You never, ever know. So, you never know. For those of you asking, is DCI a combat sport? Color guard can be dangerous. They are spinning very big, heavy things. Gravity acts on those big, heavy things. And the higher up it goes, the faster it can come down, and it can be. Also, the color guard throwing things around, you never know what the wind and weather is going to do. So you can have other members get injured from color guard things spinning. Drumsticks can go flying. Yeah, things happen. You can have foot injuries. Yes, marching band is an athletic endeavor. I know if nobody's marched, you might not know, but marching is a athletic endeavor. And foot injuries, knee injuries are common, but when you get to color guard, facial injuries, broken noses, hands, concussions, things like that. So, gravity. Yes, spinning flags and rifles can break your hand. We'll talk about the things that hands get broken by. So Jacqueline said DCI is dynamic. Yes. So for those of you that are like, why are we talking about band again? Because it is 100% what's on my mind, because that's where my kiddo is. And so it is frequently on my mind. And we got to talk to him yesterday, which was very exciting for Father's Day. So it is frequently on my mind. For those of you that are like, girl, what? Just go onto YouTube and put in like DCI 2024 and you'll see some of the performances. It is, what did they call it? Does DCI call itself like the Major League of Marching Band or something like that? There's a there's a tagline, but it is competitive elite marching band, but only with brass instruments. Sorry, woodwinds. Just brass, drums, all kinds of performance art. So Travis is marching with the Cavaliers. Unfortunately, the Cavaliers aren't going to be in Atlanta this year, but I get to go see them do their kickoff with Phantom and Carolina Crown, and I'm very excited. So marching bands, Major League. Thank you, Tony. I knew you would know. Exactly. That. You said it better. Okay, so we're going to get to your questions. We talked about, look, the court is going to do what they always do. That is how law works. This is how we do it. Just cue Montel Jordan in your brain. This is how we do it until the appellate courts say, hey, let's not do it that way anymore. Judy, there you go. Phantom. Regiment. Start yelling. But courts very much operate in this is how we do it, and this is the law as it is. And then the appellate courts go, maybe we should change that. And then they do. And then it goes up to the Supreme Courts, and the Supreme Courts go, yeah, we don't like that you did that. Stop it. Or, yeah, okay, we agree. Do that. It takes years for law to change, and this is why. Let's talk about a judge y'all like. How many of you are watching the Corey Richins case with me? Lots of you. In the Corey Richins case, the judge in that case was being asked about whether or not they could have more jurors deliberate. In Utah, it is not a capital case, where they are not pursuing a capital case, and so more jurors are deliberating. And Judge M in that case with, I know there are some beards that y'all like. Judge M's might be the top. I also, can we talk about how unhinged this chat is? Wait, where did it go? Amy, I was trying to pull you up. Amy. So we've got Olympian Amy Van Dyken saying hi to John Stamos in the chat because the law nerds are everywhere. Also, John Stamos, if you were in the chat, hello. No verdict today. Waiting for a verdict is stressful. I know. Amy, also, good to see you, friend. So with all of that, somebody asked me where my normal earrings are. They're sitting on my desk because I forgot to change them. And these are the ones I was wearing earlier today. So they're on my desk. Why? Because I was like, let's just go live. So if you're watching Corey Richins with me, Judge M, fantastic beard. I don't know why he hates the media. We love him so much. We'll talk about the conspiracy theories on a members only live stream. Do not worry. But the judge was asked to make a ruling about the number of jurors. The defense wants 12 to deliberate. The judge was being asked to make a finding about it. And Judge M, I think, made a record really well. And Judge M said, look, my job as the court is to follow the law as it is written today. That is my job. I have to follow the law as it's written today. And the law as it's written today says this. And while I look forward to the day when the law changes, as the law is today, it is my job to follow it, because it is the job of the court, the trial court level, to follow the law as it is. And then it goes up to the appellate court, and then it goes up to the Supreme Courts, and then they can change it by case law. Or the legislature can say, hey, we all agree that we don't want to do this. Can we just change it? And then they change it. Two paths to change the law. But it is the job of the courts in the trial level to follow the law as it's written, even if they want to see that law change. As Judge M said, Judge M was like, look, I'm looking forward to the day that this changes. Today is not the day, and I am not the one, and it is not my job. I think it is great when we see judges say, I look forward to this changing. Hello, legislators, change this. That would be great. But they know it's their job to follow the law as it's written the day that they're making the ruling, because that is how you get consistent and equal results across the state or the jurisdiction. And yes, I think it's Jer, but Amy Van Dyken, the swimmer. Yes, Amy Van Dyken, the swimmer. You guys can embarrass her in the chat and talk about how many gold medals she has and how many world records she has still standing. You're welcome to do that. I'll allow it. Emily, off topic? Nah. It's perfect. Okay. So when we have judges that we very much like and they tell us they're following the rule as it is, they are following the rule as it is. This is the rule in Massachusetts. Look at what changed between the two trials. Look what changed between the two trials. The jury instructions are more clear than they were last time. That is a change. That is a good change. I like that change. I'm happy with the change. Yay for the change. The jury instructions this trial were more clear than last trial. The law can move slow, but please know that it does move. And if you watch the jury instructions last time and this time, they are much more clear this time. Things do change. We live in a world where things change really fast. Look, if I order something on Amazon and I have to wait more than like a day, I also lose my mind. I get it. We are used to things moving fast. The law is the actual, the opposite, the 100% opposite. The law moves slowly. Very, very slowly. All right. Let us continue on, shall we? We will just continue on. I know we are not used to things moving slow. We are like, zoom, zoom, ready to go. I get it. I am too. To everyone who gifted memberships today, thank you. Welcome to all our new members. Roxy said 2 years with y'all as a member. I love it here. I love having you here. Lawnards are the best. And can we just, Lawnards, all of you that are here, can you just give an extra shout out to Jordan? Her mom is probably watching, so her mom will get to see all of the love in the chat. But can we just give a shout out to Editor Jordan? Because I talked so much during our pod recording, and she was able to take our pod recording and like chop it in half to make sure that you guys had a podcast today that was manageable and fixed all my sentence flubs because my brain stopped and I was so tired. It was just like, read the thing. And all the pop-ups that you guys love on the Emily Show podcast and on the case briefs, that is all Jordan. That is 100% Editor Jordan. So Jordan has just absolutely rocked it out so that you guys have the Emily Show podcast, even when it's supersized, and B, the case briefs that so many of you have been like, oh my God, the case briefs are the best. Jordan has just rocked it out. Miguelina is here live with me every day as my producer and is timestamping everything. So when you guys are like, Emily, the timestamps in real time are bae, Miguelina is doing that in real time. Team Baker has worked so much during this trial. So when I see in the chat, when people are like, Emily, are we streaming if we don't have time or a verdict or something tomorrow? Some of it is giving the team a minute. So we are not doing double streams because for the last 8 weeks, going into 9 weeks, Team Baker has been so busy. So tomorrow we are going to keep an eye out for the verdict tomorrow. That's what we're going to keep an eye out for. And then we'll go from there. She Speaks says the case briefs killed for days when my ADHD simply could not with some of the witnesses. Exactly. And we have a lot in our audience are like, I will come back for the next trial. I can't with this trial. Or I can't with some of these attorneys and I want to just wait. The ghosted woman said, are they done for the day? They are done for the day. The jury is out. Hopefully you can see the pinned comment. The jury is home for the day. We came in, we watched the jury get dismissed. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to talk about band because Emily's in full band mom mode. You guys know that if I am not at a live concert within like a 3-week span, I start to get real twitchy. Like I just get like my eyes starts to flutter. I start to get anxious. Like it's summertime. It's time for like live concerts. It's time for live music. It's summer. Live music is good for the soul. It just is. Just find live music where you can. I don't care if it's a concert in the park, if it is an 8th grade performance, doesn't matter. Go find music. It makes you feel better. I absolutely promise. And there's some great in-ear protection if the live music gets loud. There are times I just want to feel it in my soul. I did wear ear protection for Metallica. That was needed. That was needed. And Def Leppard, because they had set their amps to like 70. And it was hard sometimes to hear because it was so loud. Dave Matthews does not destroy my ears, but sometimes it does destroy the throat as I sing. So I need this verdict to come back before, I will do vocal warm-ups because Rob, his vocal coach, yelled at me during last year's Corey Richards trial and at some point during the, what trial was it? I think it was during Baldwin because we had done like back-to-back trials and was like, girl, what are you doing why aren't we doing vocal warm-ups? What are we doing? And I'm like, I just want to scream the Dave notes. He's like, you cannot just like roll out here and just scream things. Stop it. You need to protect your voice. And so I've been yelled at by multiple vocal coaches and now I'm just like, fine, I'll be responsible, but my non-wonderful singing is needed as backup for the Dave Matthews Band this weekend. Kadora said needed background noise, so I put on some rant. I'm sorry. So I put on another stream. It made me thankful for the law nerd community and ADB's commitment to be sassy without the fuckery or major conjecture or insulting those involved in the case. Keep it classy, chat. Look, it's the way I like to engage with the world, and I engage on stream with the way I like to engage with the world. People don't want to be involved in the court system. They don't. I mean, the lawyers do. The lawyers make a ton of money for that. The lawyers do. But people don't want to be involved with the court system. Being involved with the court system sucks. It sucks for everybody involved. People don't want to be involved in civil cases. People don't want to be involved in criminal cases. And oftentimes, there's not a ton of choice involved in that. Sometimes more than others, but people don't want to, even when people choose to sue as plaintiffs, they often don't want to be involved in the case. They want the thing to stop or the thing to be rectified, but they don't want to go through court. So adding stress to that is not needed because there will be answers. We have to wait for answers. Waiting for answers sucks. Waiting for answers is the worst, but we are not the parties waiting for answers. We just get to wait, and waiting is hard, but we can do hard things, and we can prove that we are more patient than my 8th grader, who was actually incredibly patient today when the internet was out for the entire day. So if my 8th grader on summer vacation can be without the internet for the entire day, we can wait another day for the jury. We can. We can. We absolutely can. I see all of you talking about the concerts you're going to this summer. You guys are the best. When we went to see Def Leppard the last time Steve Miller Band opened, look, Steve Miller's sound mixer, first of all, had them 10 out of 10. They sounded so good. And I'm like, when is Steve Miller just touring? I just want to go see Steve. I want the whole thing. I want to see Steve Miller again live. They were so good. And they weren't overclocked in the instruments, so you could hear them. I see some of you talking about John Stamos. John Stamos plays with the Beach Boys. I know. Some of you guys are like, wait, what? Yes. And is touring. Go see the Beach Boys. Do it for Brian. Just go see the Beach Boys. Katie said, oh my God, Emily, we're wearing the same shirt, also cut the exact same way. I mean, everything should be a V-neck. And if it's not, I'm going to make it one. I love this shirt. It just wasn't a V-neck. Magical Menagerie said, I just bought the fax hat. You are welcome. We had been asked to restock them, which doesn't always go as, we don't move at the speed of ADHD when we have to make things. Moki asked, what questions has the jury asked? None. The jury did not ask any question, any at all. Cindy Jackson said, it's my birthday, 63. A verdict would be great. No verdict today, but happy birthday. And tomorrow. Katie said, can the jurors ask for clarification if they're confused about the jury slip? They can. And then if the jury asks a question, all the lawyers have to come back to court. The court should read the question to all the lawyers, and then they discuss how to answer it. That is what should happen. So yes, I got the notification via the Law Nerd app and jumped. I've missed everyone today. We had some app issues today, we've had outages in a lot of things today. So, Chrissy, thank you for the gifted memberships. I appreciate it. Happy to see EDB withdrawals today. However, my new hat is purchased. Well, congratulations. And yes, I know a lot of you were like, what are we doing? I saw a number of you ask, are they off Thursday and Friday? They are off on Thursday for the federal holiday for Juneteenth. And the word from those in court said that they will be back on Friday. Here's what I would like to just, manifest into the world. Can we just not worry about it on Friday? I would love us to have a verdict. Would love that. I would love that. I would love us to not even be discussing whether or not they'll be in court on Friday. I would love us not to have to need to know. I would love us not to need to know. Music Girl said, finally downloaded your app today. That ish works. I know. Occasionally we have over 100,000 of you in the app. Occasionally it has hiccups. Normally they're due on other outages. But again, it's great to stress test it today. It's fantastic. CW said, can you go on some other streams? Maybe. My schedule has been the issue. We have gotten lots of invites. My schedule has been so wild with family and life and existing obligations that normally it's just my schedule being wild and me also needing to sleep. One of the things I did not do well when I was a DA that led to me having complete adrenal fatigue and lots of health issues was not sleeping. So even though there are times I'm like, it would be fun to do this, I am now like, but if I'm going to stream trial for 8 weeks, I have to take care of myself. And sometimes that means saying no to things I really want to do, which is hard. I said no to VidCon this year. I really wanted to do VidCon. I could not make everything work. And I have FOMO as much as the next human, but I realized that I want to be able to do this for y'all. And I was in a career where I completely burnt myself out, and I wasn't good for me. I wasn't good for my family. I wasn't good for anybody. So I don't want to do that again. So I have more control of my work, and I am trying to make sure I have more control of my life by not running myself back into the ground, because you can run yourself into burnout no matter what you're doing if you just keep going and don't rest. So I have been very, very mindful, but it's really hard when I want to do all the things, because I want to do all the things, especially as trial gets long. Like the dopamine of hanging out with everybody is high. The dopamine of sleeping is not high. No matter how much I gamify it with Pokemon Sleep, the dopamine of sleeping is just not high. Pokemon Sleep has helped though. If Dr. B walked in here, he'd be like, but you cheat. Yeah, I do. I do sometimes cheat at Pokemon Sleep. And then Dr. B is like, you are cheating at your sleep game. I'm like, shh, they don't know. They don't need to know. They don't need to know. Katsuko said, question, could this be reconsidered if a jury sends a question with confusion about the verdict slip? If the jury has confusion about the verdict slip, then they should fashion an answer for the jury in this case. But there are committees of people that sit around and talk about these things. And I imagine that a lot of the lawyers in Massachusetts are like, that's a good point. Maybe we should think about it. And so I'm sure the lawyers in Massachusetts who sit on the committees that talk about the jury instructions and the verdict slips and the rest of it are listening to it. And I can understand where the defense is coming from, because Alan Jackson and I worked in the same office and in the same jurisdiction, and our jury slips were different. So I am also used to a jury slip when there are lesser includeds that spells it out. If not guilty, or if not guilty on this charge, proceed to the next charge. If not guilty on this charge, proceed to the next charge. If guilty on a charge, then stop. I am used to more, I am used to a bit more spelling out on the verdict slips. I don't think helping the jury is a bad thing. I understand why courts lean into, this is the way we've always done it. It's always been fine. They can figure it out. Corey, you are welcome, who said thank you for being there with us. I know it's been stressful. I know it's been stressful for y'all. Orb Attraction said, can the judge individually ask each juror what their actual vote was, just to have some clarity at the end of this? Here is how it works in most jurisdictions. I'm saying most because Massachusetts is special. Most. If there is a verdict, and you've seen this in the cases we've all watched together, if there is a verdict, you will see that the judge will poll the jury on their verdict. Is this your verdict? And they will go by seat number, and you will hear the jurors say, yes, 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 yes. Sometimes, which case was it? Was it Sarah Boone, where the juror was just like, yes? And I was like, holy shit. I think it was juror number 3. Juror number 3 came right out there with yes. Like, yes, it was. It was. All right. All of you were saying it was Sarah Boone. The juror was just a vigorous and swift, is this your verdict? Yes. It was the most yes, it fucking is without saying yes, it fucking is I have ever heard. So jurors are polled, is this your verdict at the end of every case? In some jurisdictions, the court will do it sua sponte on their own motion because the court will do it. In some jurisdictions, they will ask, do the parties want the jury polled? Does the defense want the jury polled? And then the jury is polled. I've never seen a lawyer say, no, I don't want the jury polled after a verdict. If the jury is unable to reach a verdict, often I will see judges ask if there is anything they can do to remedy it, and then ask about the split from the foreperson and say to the foreperson, without telling me who, how is the jury split and on what counts? And then you will hear the foreperson often say, the jury is split 11 to 1 on this charge. The jury is split 8 to whatever on this charge. The jury is split whatever to whatever on this charge. And then in some jurisdictions, they will ask the way that it is split. So instead of just saying we're split 11 to 1, they will ask, you're split 11 to 1, 11 for guilt, 1 for not, or vice versa. 11 for not guilt, 1 for guilt. Why? Well, this is how it was done where I was, and I appreciate this because then you give more information to the attorneys to decide what they're going to do next. If a case is split 11 to 1 for guilt, it's a lot different situation than 11 to 1 for not guilt, and it lets the lawyers have a different conversation because then you can try to figure out what's going on with the case. If everybody is split 6-6 for, 6 for guilt, 6 for not guilt, then you've got a different conversation. But it helps the lawyers and the court decide how to go forward. So it's very helpful information. In Massachusetts, the jury can be polled, and the Massachusetts instructions seem very heavily weighted towards a verdict, not a split verdict. So the language in the first trial was very heavy towards do not return a verdict until you have reached verdicts on all counts or all indictments. Here, it doesn't say that anymore. Here it says fill out the verdict slip when you reach a verdict on each indictment. Last trial, they were told to wait until they had reached verdicts on all indictments. And if you watch some jurisdictions, you will see some jurisdictions where the jury might come back with a verdict on a count and then go back and continue deliberating. So they'll say, well, we have a verdict on count 1. And the court will say, okay, come give us your verdict on count 1. And then they'll go back. They do that too. So it really depends. But yes, the judge can ask generally, but when it comes to a decision, they will ask each juror, is this your verdict? When it comes to not a decision, the judges will generally ask a split from the foreperson, and they will not call out each individual juror. Hopefully that's probably more of an answer than anyone expected for that question. Tamron said, after a verdict is read, does the jury meet with the judge in chambers? Normally, the judge will meet with the jury in the jury deliberation room. The judge will go in and thank them for their service, ask them if there's any feedback about how jury service went. I imagine this trial, it'll be, why are there so many sidebars? But yes, they often will go in and thank the jurors for their service, answer any questions they have, tell them how much they appreciate them, and then let them go. In some jurisdictions, the lawyers will get to talk to the jury afterwards if the jury wants to. In some jurisdictions, they don't. In California, jurors often hung around to talk to the lawyers. you will be shocked to learn that jurors hung out and were like, hey, what color lip gloss have you been wearing? Hey, the water bottle you had on day 2 of trial, what water bottle was that? This will shock you none. Hey, what pens were you using at counsel table? Sometimes they would want to talk to me about the case. Sometimes they would want to talk to me about deliberations. Sometimes they would just want to talk to me about me or say hi or whatever. So it really just depends. Sometimes they would just not wait to ask me those things, and then it would become a whole shit show. But we've already talked about that this trial. So we don't need to talk about it again. Some of you are just going to bring it up in the chat. We're not going to talk about it again. MD had a good question about the verdict form. So the jury can convict on just an OUI itself, not including manslaughter? Yes. In these lesser includeds, switch back to law real quick and away from the other things. In the lesser includeds, they now have just operating under the influence, period by itself. Period by itself. That's all. So it's there. Deborah said, I would totally do that. No, don't apologize. It's great. I love it when people look, when the jurors are like, where did you get your shoes? I'm like, oh my God, let me tell you everything. No, we don't gatekeep here. What about this? Yes, this. No, it didn't bother me at all. I'm happy to answer the questions. Look, when I tell you jurors have nothing to do but sit and stare at the lawyers all day, they sit and stare at the lawyers all day. Where, they have questions. I get it. Michelle asked kind of along the same lines, can the jury find a verdict for a couple of charges? And if they can't reach a decision on one charge, what would happen then? They would have a split verdict where they reach verdicts on some of the charges and not verdicts on others. That is completely allowed. And the jury instructions this time are more friendly to it. It happens. Absolutely happens. Juries can come back with split verdicts where they can resolve some of the counts and not the others because they just can't agree. 100%. Objection hearsay said, if Karen is convicted on OUI, would she appeal? I can't imagine they would win another trial. Could she remain out of custody during appeal? That becomes a strategic decision, a time decision, a money decision. It really depends on what her and her lawyers look at with the case. It really depends. But given the statements that they used this trial, I can see them making different decisions. It's really hard to talk about it in a vacuum, but it's really up to her lawyers. But they might look at the media statements and go, you know what, if it's just this one, it is not worth appealing. But they can also, if that were the circumstance, they could also appeal a sentence instead of just appealing the conviction. So there are lots of things that happen. But we will see. And you never know what a jury might do. There's a reason the defense wanted that in there. Oh, see, we started. Good to see you, John Stamos. It took me a minute. We were getting through the rest of the questions. So, yes, good to see you. Chat definitely saw the hello. So they knew before I did because I'm yammering about the law. I love that all of you said hello to Jordan. That is the best. Heather, I don't know yet. We will see what we can do. I know lots of law nerds are going to be in Indy. We will talk about it. All the member chats coming in for Jordan. I love it. Look, our mods have just absolutely gone above and beyond to help all of us keep this community what we love and welcome our new law nerds that want to be a part of the community and remind them that just because something might be the thing other parts of the internet doesn't mean it's the thing here, and it's been great. Yes, SF, we do. Amy and I have been talking about this forever, and then we're like, we need to do that, and then we hang out and like watch TV and giggle. And then we hang out and watch TV and giggle. But we've been meaning to do that. We definitely will. John, I will message you about that. That would be fun. You know how I feel about live music. Free Dumb says, here's a secret. The jury doesn't have to follow the instructions. They don't have to, but they often do. Especially you get a couple rule followers in there And the rule followers are like, the jury instructions say this. So we're doing this. So we're going to do this. So it really just depends on all of that. Let's see. Zach Bryan at a country festival in London, leave from LAX on the 25th. Amazing. Hopefully none of you were planning on heading to Bonnaroo last weekend. That wasn't great. That wasn't helpful. Sorry if any of you were heading to Bonnaroo. Get your refunds. Brea said, big thanks, Mama EDB, for keeping us law nerds from completely spiraling. Your solid explanations and this is normal reminds us. Reminders are exactly what we need. It is my hope to help walk you guys through the legal process. Look, I had a long career to do this, so I got to do this through my career. And I had other attorneys that I looked up to and bosses that I respected who were just like, it's fine. I had a boss, and I've probably told this story multiple times. I had a boss at one of the courthouses where I worked, and it was a quirky courthouse. It had its own little vibes. But I would often go screaming into her office with my hair on fire with a list of everything in the world is on fire. And then she'd be like, okay, now sit down dramatically. She'd be like, take a breath. I would take a breath. She's like, look, I have been doing this for insert number of years, upwards of 30. It will all work out. And I'd be like, it's not all going to work out because of this and this and this and this and this. And it's not going to all work out. She's like, it will all work out. I'm like, I am only one person. She's like, exactly. You are only one person. And the court is only one person. And the defense is only one person. We are all going to do the best we can. And it will all work out. It will all work out. It might be stressful, but it will all work out. And you know what? It always did. I'm like, I have 4 trials set on this one day. She's like, right. And you're just one person. So something will happen. And then defense attorneys start going, hey, I've got 5 trials set on this one day. I can't do all of this. And you're like, it's all going to work out. It's stressful getting there, but it will all work out. It will all work out. And I was always like, it's not all going to work out. It's not all going to work out. And she would be like, take a breath. It's all going to work out. Dina in the chat said, question, what's the longest you've waited for a verdict? Well, that's not a good story for this case. That's not a good story for this case because the longest cases I've had to wait on were cases where they couldn't reach a verdict. So that's not really helpful here. But yes, the bosses I had with the more experience than I had would say, take a breath. You're just one person. It's going to work out. Take a breath. You're just one person. It's going to work out. And it would work out. And there would be days when I would have 4 or 5 trials set to go, and trying to juggle those as they are rolling in is hard. But you know what? It all works out. It all works out. Aaron said you were the office drama queen. No, definitely not. But I also am very ADHD. So the scheduling stuff would send me sideways. I was definitely not the most dramatic, but the scheduling stuff would put me in a freaking tailspin because I struggle with all the executive functioning. So when my calendar would look like all of this, that's the thing that would send me sideways. Tori said, who was the office drama queen? Oh, I'm not diming people out. Oftentimes it was the judges. We had a couple real dramatic judges. So I'm not naming my coworkers. Also, sometimes defense attorneys have a way of being more dramatic, right? But often it was the judges. Some of you guys are asking, but was it Alan Jackson? Jackson and I did not work in the same courthouses at the same time. We did not at all. And I would never, ever throw my coworkers under the bus because they are amazing. What I loved is that I had coworkers on all realms, but every single one of my coworkers had a switch. And everyone was chill until they weren't. And figuring out where that was helpful. Some of you are like, why are judges so dramatic? Because they're used to people listening to them. They can get very dramatic. Also, they have to put up with a lot of bullshit. So judges put up with a lot of bullshit and occasionally they just get tired. It's being a judge, depending on how busy the court is like a million people looking at you going, mom, 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 mommy, mama, mommy, 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 but my case, I need my case. Can we call my case? Why aren't we calling my case? So eventually they get tired. And when courts have, and in LA, it is not uncommon for, especially in the misdemeanor level courts, to have 30 plus cases a day. And you've got lawyers coming in all day going, I need my case called. And it's like, right, you and these 9 other people. So you can go sit down and wait because we got 9 other people that need to come in. It's like, can we call my case now? And then the court will call the case. Because somebody said, can you call my case now? The court will call the case. Oh, we don't have the defendant. What do you mean you don't have the defendant? We don't have the defendant. Okay, can you go get the defendant? We're calling this case. But what happens when you call that case? 4 other attorneys walk out the door and go do something else. And then everybody is just sitting there waiting. And they're like, we could have called 3 more cases now, but now everybody left because I was calling this case. Good. Or the defense will say, we're ready on this case, and they'll call the case. And the defense is like, we're ready. And then the court will go, okay, calling the case of blah, blah, blah. Where's the prosecutor? And the defense will go, I don't know. They were just here. Did you tell the prosecutor your case was ready and we were calling the case? No. What courtroom is the prosecutor in? I don't know. You told me the case was ready. Well, I'm ready. Go find the DA and come back and tell me when your case is ready. But in that time, the other defense attorneys have left because they have cases in other courtrooms. And then you spend all day herding cats. And then judges get dramatic because it is like herding cats. And one attorney is ready and then the other one isn't. I had one prosecution. We had 12 defense attorneys on one part of it. We had to set court dates to pick a date for our next court date because we were dealing with 12 defense attorney schedules. And the judge was always like, so, herding cats. Herding cats. It was like herding cats. So yes, judges can get dramatic because a lot of their day is everyone saying they're ready and then not being ready. And they sit there and go, why is no one ready? I'm ready. And then at the end of the day, everybody's like, can we get this case done today? And the court staff is like, nope, we're done for the day. Because when court ends at 4, the court clerk on a busy day has another hour and a half of paperwork to do before they're even done. It's wild. Court is wild. Court is wild and busy. So that's why courts get dramatic and salty. Let's see. Emily, we're getting back to questions, less of courtroom operation because courtroom operation is much. Emily, why did they need to bring Brennan in as a special prosecutor when there's nothing special? I'm sure that Brennan's mother finds him to be a very special individual. During the Murdaugh case, this became such a meme when the attorneys would be like, what's so special about being a special agent or whatever? The only thing special about being a special prosecutor is it means that you are not hired by the prosecutor's office. Prosecutors' offices across the land hire prosecutors. That is that person's job. That is the job that I did too. And you are hired by the office. In the case with Alec Baldwin and Hannah Gutierrez Reed, they brought in a different special prosecutor before Carrie Morrissey. They said that their district attorney's office did not have the personnel to handle that case and deal with all those New York City lawyers. In the Murdaugh case, they brought in the state attorney general as special prosecutors instead of the prosecutors in the area because Murdaugh and his daddy and everybody else, his granddaddy and his great granddaddy and all the other granddaddies had worked for that court. So they brought in the state attorney general prosecutors instead of the prosecutors in that district. In this case, we have not heard actual factual reasons why they needed a special prosecutor instead of Adam Lally. I would love to know why they had to go find another prosecutor and couldn't bring someone from their office in to prosecute the case. I do not know why that choice was made by the DA. I don't know if we will ever know. I think anything is just speculation. But why did Adam Lally not prosecute the case the second time? Why did the DA's office bring in a special prosecutor from outside their office? Was that the choice of the boss? Was that the choice of the line DAs? Did everybody stage a walkout and say, hell no, we won't prosecute? I don't know. We have no factual information about that. I don't know if we ever will. But most prosecutors prosecute a lot of cases. You should have prosecutors in the office that can prosecute a second-degree murder case if they've been in the office more than a handful of years. So I don't know any fact-specific reason why they needed to spend the money to bring in a special prosecutor. They thought they did. They thought they needed to bring in a special prosecutor. Why did Brennan agree? I don't know. Why did they need to do it? I don't know. But that was their choice. And somebody approved all the money. Real curious who approved all the money. Real curious how that went. Because then you have to go to the different branches of government and ask for the money to do it. And we saw all those motions in New Mexico. We saw all those asks. We didn't see them here. I'm curious. Maybe one day Adam Lally will write a book and we will learn all the tea. But also, instead of bringing in a special prosecutor, if you're the boss, you try it. Go ahead. You go to court then. You want to do it? You do it. You're a lawyer. Go prosecute. Go to court. I don't know. Susan said, I wonder if John and the Beach Boys will visit Ontario, Canada. I am sure somewhere there is a schedule and you will know. I'm sure somewhere there's a schedule. Seen a lot said, I haven't loved the rulings from Canoni, but she knows the importance of the jury and she seems to always have patience when addressing them. Judge Canoni does have good demeanor with the jury. This jury seemed more put out with her than the last jury. And I don't know if it's that they were put out with her specifically or put out with all of the sidebars and all of the bips and bops. So, Aaron in the chat said, Emily, did you have cases you refused to prosecute? Yes. And then I had cases I refused to file where I'm like, I'm not filing that, which is the easiest way to handle it. It's like, no, we're not even filing. We're not filing that. No, which again, prosecutors can choose to do. But I had cases I was given and it's like, are you prosecuting that? I would go to the boss and be like, this is why we're not doing this. Or call the defense attorney and be like, we're all going to have a meeting. We're going to find another way to resolve this because this does not need to go to trial. But no, there were cases I refused to prosecute. Also, I worked in a jurisdiction where we were given the ability to do that. And I worked in a jurisdiction where it's not like we didn't have any work to do. So the thing is, prosecutors need a lot of discretion and their office needs to support them when they say, I'm not doing this. And I can't speak for offices other than the ones that I worked in because not all offices work like that. Marie said, what happens when you refuse to prosecute a case? It depends on each office. If I refuse to file it, then there's no case. If you refuse to prosecute it and one of your coworkers prosecutes it, sometimes that happens. But often I would advocate to end the case in one way or another. Dismiss it, settle it for something less, try to find an alternative resolution. It just depends. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of options, especially in like juvenile and stuff. There's a lot of options. Vicky said, was Alan Jackson as charismatic in person? Like all lawyers, there is an on in court and a not on in court, but most lawyers, the on in court is just them dialed up a little bit. So yes, I mean, we have not had more than a handful of conversations when he had cases in the building that I worked in. And those were just office cases. There were also a lot of DAs that especially when I was a newer DA, that would, walk into court and be like, when you've been here for like 6 years, I'll let you know. We'll talk then, because people do transition out of the office pretty quickly. So people don't always, it's a job that not everybody, it seems great in theory. Then they start doing it. They're like, I'm out. So there were senior DAs that were like, I'll get to know you after you've been here a few years. Nina Reed knows I put all letters in different places. I don't know why my Law & Order app doesn't get notifications. I've checked all the settings. Today there was an issue. So it might have been today, but you can try reinstalling it. And we have a walkthrough in the app. So the mods will tell you how to get there, but there's a walkthrough in the app. Casey Cat said, I'm feeling a Wednesday afternoon verdict. We'll see, because it will feel like a Friday verdict. Maybe. I'm in development meetings during jury watch. Well, you're free for the day. Oh, Brandy said, I'm going to spend my entire vacation on verdict watch. I'm sorry. We will let you know when something happens. Is it normal for a judge to have a set dismissal time? Yes. I've seen other cases where they were allowed to go late. It depends on the jurisdiction, but it's very normal. In Los Angeles, things are cut off by 4:15 at the latest based on a whole lot of factors. But yes, it's incredibly normal. Some jurisdictions will let jurors deliberate longer. Some will let them deliberate over the weekends, which is so strange for me. Some will let them deliberate just during court hours. So it really varies by jurisdiction, but it is not unusual to have a court is done at this time. Marcy asks, how long was I a prosecutor? Over 10 years as a prosecutor. And lots of trials. So yes, it is very normal for courts to have a fixed cutoff time. We've talked about it a couple times. There's a lot of people that make a courtroom work, including security staff. And this jury gets here. We'll talk about that for a minute more. There is security that has to happen with sheriff staff to get the jurors back and forth to wherever they park off site. There is courtroom security. There are clerks that have a contract that is separate from the court reporter's contract. There are clerks that still have work to do after court is off the record for the day. So there are a lot of people that you are dealing with in a given courtroom. So it is tough. Let's see. Morgan said, question, would you be more or less mad if this was the first trial? I don't know what I was mad about. What was I mad about? The jury instructions, the verdict slip? I don't remember what I was mad about. So I don't know. Evie, good to see you. Tomorrow would be grand. Friday is kiddo's birthday. Friday, nobody wants a Friday verdict. Nobody does. What are the restrictions on the jurors during trial deliberations, where they can go or who they can talk to on the outside? They can't talk to anyone about the case outside of the other jurors that they're deliberating with. So juror A wants to go home and be like, we're in jury deliberations. That's all they can talk about. We're in deliberations, period. Juror B likes one of the alternates, but while they're in deliberations, they can't talk about the case at all, period. So you still can't talk about the case except for the jurors you're deliberating with. After a verdict, that changes. The alternates cannot talk about the case with anyone, period. The deliberating jurors can only talk about the case with the 12 deliberating jurors when they are all together. So if you're in a jurisdiction where jurors can go to lunch and 3 jurors go to lunch together, they can't talk about the case because all 12 aren't there. All 12 have to be there. All 12 have to be deliberating. If a juror goes to the bathroom, deliberations pause. You can't keep talking about the case until all 12 jurors are together. And the alternates have to wait. And they don't get to talk about the case at all. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So those are some of the restrictions. They cannot talk to people about the case. They can only talk about the other 12 deliberating jurors if they are a deliberating juror. Rachel said, how is the evidence delivered to the jurors? Do they get a huge packet of stuff? Boxes in this case. They would get boxes of stuff brought into the jury room, and then the pictures from the autopsy and stuff would be in an envelope. Sometimes it's a red envelope, so they know what's in that envelope. And then they also get a clean computer, like wiped of all the stuff, and they get some of the thumb drives so they can look at the evidence there. PJ said, EDB, will you be using the word F when you talk at YouTube? Oh, yeah, curse words always happen. The tech executives are not shy when I say curse words. It does not frighten anyone. They know that I curse. No one is shocked when I say, what is this shit? Or what the fuck is happening? No one is surprised at all. TX Doll said, is it true that her lawyers are pro bono? Here is what I have heard. I cannot verify how true it is. This is what I have heard her lawyers say. Her lawyers have said that they are no longer taking legal fees. I'm sure they're still tracking them, but they are no longer taking legal fees. That what Karen Reed has been paying for the second trial has been going towards experts only. So they said they are no longer getting paid legal fees for the case. I'm sure they are still keeping track of them in case there are other things. I do not know if they have a pro bono arrangement, meaning that they expect that they will never be paid, or if they have arrangements that if this is ever sold into a movie or a book or whatever, that they will get paid then. I do not know what those agreements are, but they have said they are not she is not paying them now for this trial. She is just paying out of pocket for experts. Pro bono means they would not get paid and there would be no expectation of payment, different than if there is expectation of payment later. So I do not know that. So Alyssa Hill in the chat asked a great question. Can we get your fax hat back in the shop, please? Alyssa, guess what? This fax hat is back in the Lawnard shop. We restocked it today. We let our app members know, but this fax hat, let me share it, is back in the Lawnard shop. It is a little harder to see because it is the black on black on black, but it is in the shop, in the Lawnard shop at lawnardshop.com. We did a limited restock. It might end up being more limited than we want it to be, but if it sells out, which it probably will today, we will restock it. It will just take us a few weeks to do that. So if you are interested, it has resold. And a few of you said you changed the font though. We did. We took it from the all uppercase back to the lowercase because it felt disjointed to me to be no all caps and then have the hat that was all caps. And I was like, no, we went back to the title case from the all caps. I was like, we can't not, we can't say no all caps and then, put it in all caps. So this is the fax hat. It is up on Lawnard shop at lawnardshop.com. We will do another run of the fax not fuckery at some point. We do not have not fuckery on the back of these because some of you were like, but I want the not fuckery on the back. And some were like, but I don't want the not fuckery on the back. This round does not have not fuckery on the back. We will do rounds in the future that have not fuckery on the back. So we will do that. Logical Observer said, do the alternate jurors still come to court? Yes. And wait. Because if a juror gets food poisoning or something, which has happened in a case that a friend of mine tried at a courthouse where all the jurors went out to lunch and then like 3 of them were like, I have to go. Yes. So do the alternate jurors still come to court? Yes. Because if a juror needs to leave, then you need to be able to sub them in. Amazing. You need to be able to sub them in immediately. I was reading some of the comments. You need to be able to sub them in immediately. So that. What else? Karen GG in the chat said, Emily, why would Karen Reed do a documentary knowing she had another trial? Well, I can tell you my thoughts on that. I cannot get into anyone's head, and I try not to speculate on things we don't have a lot of information about. Here's the information I have on this, and I can tell you why. I don't know about that. When they recorded the documentary, it is my supposition that they did not believe there would be a second trial. I did a whole stream talking about the article that the team had put out. And when the team put that article out, the documentary film crew said that Alan Jackson, no, I don't know if they said him specifically, that the defense team reached out to film the documentary. And when they were following her around, I suspect that the defense team thought that this would not be another trial. They thought that they were going to film that. I suspect they thought they were going to film the road to a verdict. And so when they were filming it, it was before the jury hung. I don't know if she got paid for that. I imagine that they would pay for some things, but I don't know if she got paid for that or not. I don't know how any of that works. We have not seen any breakdowns on that. But if her lawyers were reaching out, they all went into it eyes wide open and decided that they wanted to document the road to a verdict. And I think they were all pretty confident that they were documenting the road to a verdict. And then there wasn't a verdict. But if they had already signed contracts, and I would imagine that the contracts looked like, once we're done filming, the documentary team gets the footage and gets to decide when to release it and stuff. I don't know if they would have negotiated that she had control of that as like a co-producer. Clearly she didn't, because it came out right before the trial. Once the footage is out and you've got a contract to release that, then you've got to trust the production team, and you've got to trust that the production team is going to do what they're going to do. So you've got to trust that the production team is going to present you the way they want to, what they put in, what they take out, how they do it. So that's why I think they did it. I think they did it assuming it was going to document their road. I think they thought that it was going to document their road to a victory. I think that's what they thought. So Randy says, where can we watch that? The stream that I did, we will link at the bottom. And if you want to watch the documentary, it, I think, is on HBO and stuff. It's called A Body in the Snow. Don't get me started on how I feel about the title. So that's what it's called. I don't like it. I don't like hyper sensationalizing court. But if you put that in, you can see a lot of the clips that they played in court on Discovery ID's YouTube channel as well. So you can find it on a number of places. So that. What if a juror spills in deliberations that they know it was the FBI? Can the other jurors report it? They can. What happens? Missed you this morning. Well, I hate to be the it depends type of lawyer, but it really does depend. Because if the jurors are like, do you guys think that other agency might be like the FBI because this witness said that they complained to the FBI about the defense and they like wrote the FBI a letter? Like, do you think that could be it? Like, if they're asking those questions, the other jurors can be like, yeah, that's not in evidence, really. We're not supposed to speculate on it. If a juror comes in and says, oh my God, you guys. So this weekend, I was like noodly Googling and here's the tea. Immediately another juror would tell on them. Immediately another juror would be like, excuse me, they've read outside things about the case. There's always going to be someone that is more of a rule follower that is like, we're not supposed to know outside things about the case. And then that juror would get questioned. All the other jurors would get questioned. That juror would get removed. Jurors can get sanctioned for not following the court orders. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but jurors can get sanctioned for violating the court order because it's a violation of a court order being told not to do research. So then a lot of things can happen from there. But yes, other jurors would tell, but it depends if the information is, do you guys think it's this? Or, oh my God, you guys, you won't believe what they say on Twitter. It really depends. In the, which case was it? The Cardi B case. A juror got removed because at lunch, they had been talking about YouTube videos in the Cardi B defamation case in Georgia. And they had been talking about YouTube channels and how much YouTube channels can make and how much some of the videos about Cardi B made and how many views and blah, 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 blah. And one of the jurors said to another juror, oh my God. And this is me summarizing. Oh my God, can you believe like the YouTube tea? Like, what? That's crazy. Who knew YouTube was like that? The juror that was said to went back to the court and said, this juror was trying to talk to me about the case. And that juror probably didn't even think anything of it. That juror was like, but like, can you even believe this? Like, can you believe YouTube's like that? Probably wasn't even thinking that I was talking about the case, because it's not saying somebody defamed someone or somebody didn't defame someone or somebody did this or did that. It was just like, who knew it was like that? It's still talking about the case. And that juror got yeeted immediately. And it's just, yeah, it's a whole thing. So it depends. And jurors are often well-meaning, but it's really hard in our everyday life. Like, even when we went to the movies this weekend, there's times where Griffin's like, I like that they did this in this movie. I like that they did it too. It's hard to not talk about the things that we're witnessing. For some of it, it's more difficult than others. Me. So it really just depends. Oh, I'm sure I'm sure that everybody at the FBI is like, I'm going to need YouTube on my work computer. This is work. We're going to put that on in the background. Oh, I'm sure. They want the tea. The U.S. attorneys too. 100%. 100%. Can we get the facts, not fuckery hat in the shop? The facts hat is there. The not fuckery on the back will be back. It will be back. RRT said, so it could cause a mistrial. They have a lot of alternates in this case. So not necessarily, because they have a lot of alternates in this case. It's Martega. Can she be taken into custody immediately after a verdict, or how does that work? That depends on a ton of factors. It depends primarily on what charges there are. Being out of custody as long as she's been out of custody weighs heavily in staying out of custody, but I'm not going to speculate on that because it depends on so many different factors. And also, there are different rules in different jurisdictions. So it really depends. Will the defense ask for an Allen charge after last time? They had an Allen charge last time. They call it a Tui Rodriguez charge in Massachusetts, but they did have one, and the defense asked for it like 3 or 4 times, and they got it. So yes. Chronic Shock, good to see you. Gosh, I missed you today, EDB. The only thing making it bearable is the Doctor Who Big Finish audio birthday prezi from mom and dad. PS8 is like a second Audible account. I love that so much. Some of the chat is like, what do you mean second Audible account? That's an if you know, you know. That's an if you know, you know. Don't worry about it. Karen said Massachusetts allows the judge to pick the foreman, but alts first. I'm not a Massachusetts attorney. I don't know. It makes logical sense to me that you would pick the alternates first. I mean, it just seems right. Jordina, I hope I said that right. Wednesday sounds right means I'll be on verdict watch while taking the family to the zoo. I mean, right? We all have stuff to do. I get it. It's just, we'll see. Lizard said, thanks for being on verdict watch with us. Question, if we get a second hung jury, what happens? Does the Commonwealth try the case for the 3rd time? They can if they want to. It depends. I would be surprised if they hung on everything. I'd be less surprised with a split verdict, but it's too early for any of that. I hope for everyone's sake this case comes to a resolution. Allison said, they better decide before I go into labor. Hopefully so, but labor takes forever. So, you never know. We've got time. Alexis says, just a reminder, life will go on. It will. And this case, I think, has captured a lot of anxiety because people want to see the right thing happen. And we, as a very neurospicy community, our threshold for disagreeing with what we see it gets a little tough. All of you know, if you know, it can get a little tough to watch things that you disagree with. So it can be hard, but yes, it can be hard waiting, and it's hard for the lawyers too. It's hard for the parties too. And it's hard to know that you've said everything that needs to be said, done everything that needs to be done, and that you've picked a jury that will give your case the consideration it deserves. And you want the jury to give your case the consideration it deserves. But also, there is a very long process to get to outcomes in cases. So it just really depends. Terry M said, where do the lawyers wait? It seems that the defense this time is waiting at Yannetti's office or thereabouts, and the prosecution would generally wait at their office, and it depends. Most of the courthouses I worked in, the attorneys all had offices in the courthouse, so they went back to their offices. There were times when attorneys would go to courthouses that weren't where their office was, and you would wait. There were different areas where the lawyers could wait in the courthouse. So it really, really, really just depends. So it just depends. I saw a couple questions about the Neurospicy merch. We have a new merch drop coming that has some restocks. we've had hiccups in sourcing, and we want to make sure when we source stuff, we are sourcing enough that it won't immediately sell out, because the merch is dynamic as well. But we want merch to be a good experience for everyone. So that is why. We talked about the alternates still coming to court. Yes, they do. NNNs said, why are there no grounds for the objections when they are stated in court? That is this court's rules. I do not like it. It is weird. I do not like it, but that is this court's rules. I understand no speaking objections, like don't keep making your argument. I don't understand not stating the grounds in cases with pro se pro per defendants, like a Lori Vallow, like a Daryl Brooks, like a Sarah Boone for 7 seconds. In that circumstance, I can understand the court saying objection with no grounds, because it might put the defendant at a disadvantage to not always be able to, like they might think it's hearsay, but not necessarily be able to articulate that right. So I can understand saying objection only when you are dealing with a pro per. But when you are dealing with all of the lawyers, a court should have enough control of their courtroom to say objection and grounds, and that's it. And you don't want it to devolve, which shocked me when it started to happen in the Hannah Gutierrez Reed case. It wasn't speaking objections. It was just arguing. Objection, Your Honor. I can't believe he's even saying that in front of this jury right now. I mean, how can he even do that? That's not what's in evidence. Oh my God. Of course, I'm being a bit hyperbolic in that, but it wasn't an objection with grounds. It was an objection with argument. And those types of speaking objections are not appropriate in front of the jury, because you're just saying stuff in front of the jury that's not evidence. Ugh. Hated it. Thank you for brightening our Monday. You're welcome. Yes, there are plans for more zip ups as we are getting into the summer season at least in this hemisphere. We're going to have some lighter weight things coming. Margaret said, are we in court tomorrow during my birthday, Emily? It just depends on what happens tomorrow. We will see. Jojo said, EDB, I watched a recent Corey Richins update and I died laughing over the law nerds being mentioned in court. I did too. It was a moment. For those of you that are like, Emily, what? The prosecutor said it in court. This is exactly what the prosecutor said.
DOCKET 214, but every law nerd on the internet calls it the walk the dog letter.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think Prosecutor Bloodworth is hysterical. He's very professional in court, and then sometimes his writing gets a little snappy, and then every now and then he's got like a little zing, and I'm just like, oh, wild. But also, they mentioned our channel a couple times in court without mentioning any names, because at one point the court said, there are channels streaming this on the internet that will have like 820,000 YouTube subscribers. And I'm like, at the time I was like, chat? Is he talking about us? Because we have exactly 820,000 YouTube subscribers. Is he talking about us? I think he's talking about us. Your Honor, yeah, that's exactly my subscriber count at the moment. But we're really kind, and we don't talk about things that aren't evidence, and we don't speculate, and we aren't rude. I mean, we did have some thoughts about Corey Richins trying to get her attorney to smuggle her in Crest White strips into jail. But Your Honor, in all fairness, that was ridiculous. And who thinks that their lawyer is going to put their whole like bar card on the line to smuggle them in Crest White strips into custody? I mean, can't you just petition to get some like whitening toothpaste in commissary? Because it was mild. It was very mild. It was mild. But the judge was not happy with some of the headlines about the case that were not factual, which is why we stick to covering the things that are happening in court, because even if they are not always specifically true, they are the things that happened in court, and then a jury can decide if they are true. What happened in court is what happened in court. What's wild to me is when what happened in court is getting reported as something completely different. CEG Jason Momoa. That was wild. Yadiria, I hope I got that right. Is the jury explained how how the trial is expected to go. For example, we do opening, Commonwealth case, defense case, rebuttal, then closing. Yes, it's in the opening jury instructions. They are told in different jurisdictions how that's going to go. So yes. Keys Sunsets for Life said, need it before our trip to Gatlinburg. I love Gatlinburg. Enjoy the Smokies. It's lovely. Have fun. Emily, it's so interesting that the jury had 0 questions notes today. No, there's a lot of evidence. Like, my takeaway from that is that they're going through all the evidence. There's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of videos. Like, if you're the jury, okay, just think about this for a minute. Walk with me through this scenario. How many times in the last 8 weeks did I stop and say, I want to see that again? I want to hear that again. I want to play that again. And then sometimes even after court, I was like, I want to go back and look at the clips of what Karen Reed said. I want to hear those again. It was hard to hear in court. I want to process it when I'm not streaming. There were so many instant replay moments where I'm like, wait, back that up. I want to hear that again. The jury got no ability to watch it again. No ability. And now they have all that evidence. They saw the clips of Karen Reed once during trial, and they saw a few of those during closing and a few during opening. They didn't get to watch them again. They didn't say, excuse me, counsel, can you run that back again? That was like 5 seconds. Can you run that back again? Can you do that? No? Play it again. They didn't hear all of the proctor texts. They were told they could go read them. They didn't really get to see all of the reports. Some of the reports are in evidence, and they didn't get to read the whole report, but the report got entered into evidence. It's like, what the fuck's in this report? Let's go see. I want to go look. They can watch all the videos of the blue paint experiments and the Rescue Randy stuff again. They can slow it down and pause it the way they want to. When they're in court, they have to sit there and wait for the lawyers to do it. And maybe the lawyer pauses it the way they want to see it. Maybe they don't. They have to wait until they're back in the jury room to say, do you guys want to watch these again? And then they can go watch them again. They have over 200 exhibits, a ton of video. They might want to go back and watch the video of Carrie, Jen, and Karen all showing up and see if they can see where John O'Keefe is by the road. They might want to go through that and pause it and watch it more close up. Those things were all across the courtroom from them. So they might want to watch that dash cam footage again. So there's a lot of evidence that they might want to look through. The waterfall footage, the C.F. McCarthy's footage went pretty fast. So I think there is room for them to want to sit down and watch through things again. Truly. So, let's see. I'm just grabbing some questions as they come through, and then we're going to answer a few more questions, and then we are going to go. Do they all have to agree on what evidence they view? Yes. It would just be, hey, can we watch this video again? I can't imagine some of the jurors would be like, nah, I don't want to watch it. But we will see. I saw a couple of you asking about Pride March. We could not get it done in time to get it for you by June this year. So not this year. We will have Pride March back next year. I'm really excited about what we're going to do for next year. But as we were trying to get it launched so that you would have it in hand before June, with all of the uncertainty in sourcing, we could not get merch done to get it to you. I was not pleased, but we will have Pride Merch again next year. It was all of the uncertainty with shipping costs and sourcing made things difficult. So it was we can't get it to you in time, and I would rather wait a year than try to get it to you late, because that would really be frustrating to me. So yes, it will be back. Do not worry, it will be back. But merch has had some bumps this year, and we are not doing anything that is not a good experience, and we're not going to do anything that's going to sell out in 30 seconds because it's not a good experience. So we will wait versus have a bad experience. Harpo, we have lots of legal protections in the world, so that. It was just I didn't mean it that way. W&G said, not Emily saying you'll be in labor for days. No, I didn't mean that. It can take time. Then again, it's not necessarily fair for me to say because both of my deliveries were emergent and were not your average. But from what I know from everyone else, it takes time. Those things don't always go quickly. Mine were a little bit different. Both nights for DMB this weekend, taking my daughter. Amanda, yes. Both nights. Has to be both nights. Favorite venue. And I love it. So, Paige says, I'm still waiting for the EDB air merch. Don't worry. We've been working on it. To say nothing of the suits we've been name dropped in. Oh, we've been directly name dropped in some of the suits, but that was silly. Casanova Frankenberg said, is the confusion intentional? I don't think so. Juror D in the last trial cited confusion over the verdict slip as the reason for mistrial. They even said the jury was only seeking clarification when the judge declared it. And the note did not say they were seeking clarification. That's where it's difficult because the note from the foreperson said we cannot render a verdict without compromising deeply held beliefs. That note was not saying, Your Honor, we don't understand how to fill out the verdict form. Had the note said that, things would have been different. But that's not what the foreperson said. And that's difficult too. Froggy Girl said, what is your opinion of the defense not objecting right away to the back of the sweatshirt? Was that a strategy? I don't think it was a strategy. I think it took the defense a minute to even understand what the fuck the prosecution was doing because they are in real time trying to perceive what's happening. And so I think it probably took them a minute. They objected so shortly thereafter. Sometimes it's just difficult to do things in real time. Paige asked, have I ever had a DMB rain show? Yes. I've also had a show get rained out. The first Dave concert, I've been to a lot of Dave concerts. Somebody in the chat a week ago said another Dave concert. I think I probably blocked them. I'm teasing. I didn't. I don't need any judgment though. I probably timed them out. But yes, another Dave concert. You can never have too many, right? You got to catch them all. It's playlists. They're like Pokemon. You got to catch them all. But I took Travis to his first Dave show and there was a severe weather warning. We were at Deer Creek, now called something that's not Deer Creek, but we were at Deer Creek. And we had severe weather coming through and they had to cut the concert a little bit early. They started a little bit early. So they played Halloween to end it. And I was like, well, friends, if this is how we're going out, at least we got Halloween. But I've also been in the rain, wet to the core watching Dave with Warren and some of Team Baker and Judge Abby. And at least it was warm. Rain and cold would have sucked. It was rain and warm and it wasn't too muddy. Jessica, I don't live in Indiana, but it's within driving distance. And my kiddo had been up at Ball State for stuff. So I had gotten up there. Wet Hosier was great. It was so good. It was very good. It was a very good show. Heretic said, what case will you be streaming next? It depends. Going on vacation June 27th to July 7th. Heretic, just enjoy your vacation. It is supposed to be Coburger. If Coburger gets moved, then it may be something else, but I don't anticipate being in trial till August. So I do not anticipate covering trial till August because I have some band shows I need to go see. So August. Do you know if the interviews with context are in evidence? Victoria, I do. The only clips of the interviews that are in evidence are the clips that were shown in court. That is it. So that is all. Let's see. MMR 111 says, can you quick point out what other cases you've covered so we could go back and listen? They're all on playlists. So there's a playlist. If you go to the channel page on YouTube, it says live trials and there are playlists of the different trials that I've covered. So it depends. It's kind of a choose your own adventure. The Taylor Shabusiness case, we only covered the defense part of the case because the prosecution part of the case was pretty graphic and it was pretty clear what happened. The Darrell Brooks case we picked up after the prosecution case, same reason. The prosecution case was pretty clear. We picked it up when the defense, like when we got to the end of the prosecution case, like mostly the end of the prosecution case. The Sarah Boone case, I have a mega comp. If you want to just put on one video and watch the entirety of the Sarah Boone case, it's like 52 hours. So you can go watch the entire thing and then never have to find the next video because there's a mega comp. We're working on other mega comps. All the Deputy Heard coverage is there. All the Murdaugh coverage is there. So you can kind of choose your own adventure on what kind of trial you are looking for. So, but if you want one video, Sarah Boone mega comp. We started at the beginning, but it is like a 52-hour video. So, Jesse said, thanks for keeping me company while making salted caramel tiramisu. That sounds great. The waiting has me nervous. Needs to keep the hands busy. Waiting for verdicts is hard. Maggie asked, how do the rules of evidence allow those clips of Karen Read to be played randomly without any foundation or a witness on the stand? They are, well, the foundation was laid for them. They did written foundation that the defense agreed to. So there was a stipulation as to foundation. Also, a witness doesn't need to explain them because a witness explaining the video would be all speculation because it's Karen Read's own words. And because they are Karen Read's own words, the prosecution can choose what is put in. The defense could object for completeness and ask for more or less to be included. I mean, it would have to be more for completeness, but ask for more of the clips to be included. But the defense can't enter in any of that because it's not proper evidence as to them. If Karen Read wanted to explain it, she could have testified to explain it. So hopefully that is a fulsome explanation of why, because anyone standing on the stand would say, that was Karen Read saying this. Okay, the jury just saw it. Also, it might overemphasize the clips. So, KP said, why wouldn't the defense ask for more to be brought in? They chose not to. So they chose not to. I don't know. Jojo said, Godspeed to the jurors reading Dr. Welcher's slides. They might choose not to. They might choose not to. Are there any circumstances where an alternate juror would step into the jury other than when a deliberating juror says they can't continue? I mean, deliberating jurors can be removed for a variety of reasons. But no, a juror would have to be removed. There's just a lot of reasons why a juror could be removed, but a juror would have to be removed. So that, it depends. So I'm going to answer a couple more questions and then we are going to zoom and let our mods rest because we never know what we're going to do tomorrow. They were wild trials. What is your lippy day? I don't know what I put on before I put this one on, but I was using, and I forgot, I love this Lawless Gloss, but it does get sticky when I talk for too long. But this is the Lawless Gloss in Velvet. I had something on before this. So it is not just this, it's this plus something. I just don't remember what the plus something is because it was one of the lip stains. It was one of the Colfi lip stains that I did earlier today. I just don't remember which one I did. So I just don't know. So the third day of Baldwin is a whole day to watch. It really is a whole day. It's so wild. Richard says, I hate that we're not going to make DCI comp this year. Bandcamp makes life hard. Bandcamp does make life hard, but Bandcamp is also delightful. And I get it. Yeah, I'm bummed that Travis's Core isn't performing at the DCI show closest to where I live. Because it would have just been too easy, right? It would have been too easy. So let's see. Ophelia said, I'm so glad you're talking about this. I'd be big mad if I lived in Mass and was paying taxes for this particular case. I am sure there is frustration. Music to My Soul said, I heard Massachusetts doesn't allow partial verdicts on an indictment. So if the jury's hung on the OUI, they would have to be hung on all of the count. I'll have to look into it. I don't know. My argument for that would be, well, if they're not guilty on count 2 then, and they're hung as to the lesser included, then they've rendered a verdict on the entire indictment. Problem solved. That would be my argument. I would need to pull case law on it because they do things differently than I did, but each indictment can come back with a verdict separately. My argument is if they came to a verdict on the core charge, then they came to a verdict on the core charge. I think it would be very frustrating if they're like, oh, but we hung on this lesser so we can retry on this greater, I could see huge problems with that. So I would need to do some research before I gave you any more info on that. So Jay said, I had a jury summons. They said, given my job, I would be too financially impacted to do a month-long trial. I feel like the kid too short to ride, which is tough too. However, financial impact is a real consideration, and they don't want jurors who can't consider the evidence because they're so worried about the financial impact. It is tough. And it's like, no, but then you can always say, can you just put me on a shorter one? Can you put me on a shorter one? I saw you guys talking about the podcast. Why are we talking about Warren, what did the podcast do? The podcast must have done something. Hold on, I'm going to scroll in the chat. Was Octo talking about the podcast? Oh, really? Let me take a look. Hold on, chat. All of you were like, wait, we're listening in the background. What do you mean, really? Hold on, let me go look. This week we were number 6 for the weekly charts on YouTube podcasts, and YouTube rolled out a whole new podcast page. And it looks like today we are number 2 on the popular podcast page. We are, in fact, number 2 on the popular podcast page. Thanks, Warren. I hadn't looked. Today was a whole day, and I was busy fighting over internet because they were splicing lines back together because something, after last week's outage, something else happened this week and it got cut. So I have not even had a chance, but it does. It looks like we're number 2 on popular podcasts. So YouTube has rolled out a new podcast page. YouTube is the number 1 place people actually get their podcasts. They did a whole research about it. But yeah, look at us, number 2. I mean, well, now we need to be number 1. Now we just need to be number 1. I feel like that's what needs to happen. Oh, there we are too. Look at us. Yay. Yay us. Go Lonards. I mean, obviously. No, the Kohberger case is going to be wild because they didn't roll this out until we were in the middle of this trial. This happened during trial. So don't worry. Next trial, because we're getting to the end of this trial. And then we're going to chill for a minute because Emily has to do some mom shit. So then we're going to lurk for a little bit because we're going to do some mom shit and then Kohberger. And that's going to be a very long trial. EDB, are they using the defense verdict form? Did I miss something? They are not using the defense verdict form, but the verdict form for this trial is modified from the verdict form for last trial. It's better. It's not exactly what the defense is asking for, but it is better than last time. It is better than last time. Sue said, I saw you at number 1 recently. I mean, go us. I mean, I feel like I'm in Bring It On and I can just go, number 2, hell yeah. I'm ready. Destined to Be said, does number 1 podcast count on Griffin's scale of greatness? The thing is, the man moves the and yes, I'm talking about my teen because that's the way my older teen talks about my teen. He moves the goalpost all the time. All the time. And people will come up to us in public and say hello to G. And they're like, your mom's a real YouTuber. He's like, sometimes. And then the internet went out the other day. And you saw how feisty I was when we got back here. And he was like, well, it sounds like a skill issue. I'm like, this is not a me skill issue. The internet went out. I am not having a skill issue. Now, when we play Mario Party, sometimes that is actually a me skill issue, but this one wasn't me. Lona said, how are you not upset with him? Because he's messing with me and I am here for the teasing. Look, man, you've got to be able to joke with your kids. And I am here for the teasing because he always kind of giggles at me when he says it. And so I think if that shifted, I would actually be kind of sad. Like we got to just now it's a bit and we got to keep the bit going. So no, we definitely tease. And there's times where Griffin's like, what about this? I'm like, that's not a me problem. It's a you problem, but kids will keep you grounded. Also, Griffin has 0 of the filter, 0 of the filter, 0. So I am not surprised. There's times when I'm like, Griff, that one's a little spicy. Like sometimes. also. It's just G. It just is. So it just is. Wait, what said my son forever tells me it's a skill issue when something happens I can't control. Exactly. Exactly. So teen boys are a whole trip. Yeah, he is definitely embraced like being 13. And there's times that he will needle at my 17-year-old, and my 17-year-old's like, ugh, your generation is the worst. Kabuki said, is Griffin an Aquarius? Uh-huh. He's sweet and salty. He really is. And when he's sweet, he is so sweet. And when he's salty, he is so salty. So salty. And I love it. Because it's funny. And again, when he's at school, he modifies the spicy a little bit. And so as long as we're all on the same page, I am good with it. Let's see. We're going to do just a few more questions. EDB, did you see that someone was telling Billy Bush about you today and he said he wanted to talk to you about the case? Oh, we have, well, all of our emails. We have a very packed schedule for the next 3 weeks, but my email is public, so people can, I am not hard to find. So I'm not too hard to find. In Reselia versus Alessi. Oh, it's so good. It's such a good handle. It's such a good handle. Amy in the chat reminds me that we need a very advanced motion to have Emily and Amy LA 28 members only live stream. Oh, 100% we do. 100% we do. Amy and I have been needing to do a stream together forever. Melissa said, how old are your kids? 17 and 13. 17 and 13. They're spicy, but it's interesting watching G miss his older brother, because at times he was just like, oh, I got the house to myself. And now he's just like, I miss brother. I'm like, yeah, I know. Child Time Matters says, can you explain closed captioning? Does it cost YouTubers more to have it? Closed captioning does not cost more to have, but you have to delay the stream more so you are less close to real time. We will always have closed captioning on the court streams. Unless the streams are without closed captioning, but ours will not show up till after the stream is over because it delays us too far behind real time. I hope that will continue to change. That would be fantastic. I hope that will continue to change. So we will see. Honey 2800 said, is Courthouse Becky gonna go to trial? I don't know. There's a long way to go before that. And when I watched the evidence come in and the ethics stuff, she might be interested in in not going to trial. She might be very interested in not going to trial. So I don't know. Your mom's new accountant. Any updates on Adelson? Yes, it is in this week's Emily Show podcast, which I'm going to let you guys go listen to now. Courthouse Becky would be wild to have a trial. She would be wild to have a trial. Wild. But you never know. Once her lawyers get all of the info, I think she's going to have a real chat with her lawyers. Because a lot of it's just documents. Yeah, a lot of it's just documents. So no, I don't think Courthouse Becky will go to trial, but if it does, we will be covering it. And that's a case people are going to be like, Emily, you have a strong opinion about this case. Yeah, I do. I have a very strong opinion about the Courthouse Becky case. Oh my God. Going back and watching the hearing that she is accused of perjuring herself during and looking at Justice Toll's face, Justice Toll's like her face just says that's a choice and it's the wrong one. Bless your heart. It is. Oh my God. Wait, but then Justice Toll would probably be a witness. Oh, that would be amazing. Oh, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Oh, that would be great. So, in honesty, do I think it will go to trial? No. In content creator, would I love to see that go to trial? Yes. Yes, I would. That is not the best thing for Courthouse Becky to go to trial. For those of you who are like, Courthouse Becky is who? Courthouse Becky was the clerk in the Murdaugh case that recently got charged with perjury. There is a playlist down below. There's a playlist down below on Courthouse Becky. So, or we will put one down below because there was an update on the Emily show a couple weeks ago. We'll link that too when we get a chance. So, but the trial would be very interesting. It would be very interesting. All right, Law Nerds, we let the jury go for the day. We had a bit of a chat. Download the Law Nerd app. I'm going to go talk to Team Baker and figure out WTF. Download the Law Nerd app. Thank you for the fax hats. If they are not sold out, they are in the store. If you are watching this after it is live, go look. I can't guarantee that they're there. If not, we will reorder them and I will let you know when there are more back in. Because we will be looking. I will be on verdict watch for you tomorrow. The jury's going to be back to deliberate tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. When the jury is back to deliberate, the court will have all the lawyers in court. We'll bring the jury in. We'll ask them those 3 questions. We'll ask the alternates those 3 questions, and then we'll send them out to deliberate. We are not going to go live for the jury being sent to deliberate. If something happens during the day, I will let you know in the Law Nerd app and here on YouTube and hopefully on other socials that we are going live. But if they will come into court, same 3 questions, and then they will go out to deliberate. So you will see that in the morning. Don't worry. That's all that's going to happen. And then we will be on verdict watch. Remember, they will take lunch between 1-ish and 2-ish Eastern. There will be no verdict during that period of time between 1 or 1:30 and 2 and 2:30 Eastern. And that is what is going to happen tomorrow. If they have a question, if they had a verdict, if they don't tell us what's up and the lawyers head back to the courthouse, we will go live and talk to you about it. And then tomorrow, I am getting on a plane. So, all of the fingers crossed for a smooth day tomorrow. Law Nerds, have a good evening. The jury is home. Nothing else is going to happen in this tonight. The jury is home. So everyone take care, get the stuff done you need to get done, and we will be on jury verdict watch. I almost conflated all the words in one. We will be on jury verdict watch again tomorrow. I will keep you posted in the app. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Law Nerd. Thank you to the mods. Thank you for Team Baker. And that's today. The jury deliberated, and then they went home. No questions, just deliberations. And no, I don't know what they had for lunch, but if we find out, I'll let you know tomorrow. All right, Law Nerds, have a good night. I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me on this stream. If you don't want to miss a moment in court, you need the Law Nerd app at lawnerdapp.com. It's a free download on iOS and Android where I can keep you in the loop with everything happening in court. And of course, when the jury has a verdict. So if you don't want to miss a moment of this trial coverage, make sure you get the Law Nerd app. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a Law Nerd.